Good evening, everyone. Tonight's Drasha is for Parshas Achrei Mot-Kedoshim Tavshin Pei. Our learning together should be a schus refuah shalema, healing for all those who are ill, and to be a speedy recovery for everyone, and a speedy return to our way of life without the coronavirus. Every day in davening, we say, Kadosh, 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 holy, 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 Hashem Tzavakos, is Hashem Lord of hosts. Meloich haaretz kavodai, his glory fills the entire world. What does it mean when we say Hashem is Kadosh, Hashem is holy? What does holy mean? What's the definition of the word holy? The answer is that holy means to be removed, separated. And in the context of saying that Hashem is Kadosh, Hashem is holy, we mean to say that Hashem is removed from any being's comprehension of him. He is removed from the physical world. No one in the physical realm has the ability to comprehend Hashem's essence. He's far removed from our mundane world. He's even Kadosh, even holy, when it comes to the world of the angels who have more of an understanding of who Hashem is, but they have no comprehension of his essence. He's Kadosh. He's far removed, elevated, separated from the world of angels. Kadosh, the third Kadosh, represents the highest heavenly world, even that one that has beings holier than angels. Hashem is Kadosh even from that world. Even that world doesn't have the ability to comprehend Hashem's essence. He's Kadosh, removed, separated from it all. Nonetheless, Meloich haaretz kavodai, his glory fills the entire world. His essence may be way beyond our comprehension, but his glory is something that we all, every being, in whatever dimensional world we find ourselves, we are able to comprehend and experience his glory. The word Kadosh means to be separated, to be removed. And in the context of our world, it means to be removed from our world, removed from our mundane world. When we refer to someone as a Kadosh, this person is a holy human being. What we mean to say is that this person, although he or she lives among us, they live in a different realm. They live in a realm that is removed from the mundane, elevated from the mundane. And therefore we call them a Kadosh. So that's what the word Kadosh, that's how the word Kadosh, holy, is used. It means a person, a thing, a situation, perhaps a day, that's removed from the mundane, elevated from the mundane. That seems to be something that's quite sublime. But we find in the Torah that we all are commanded, are meant to be Kadosh, are meant to be holy. In this week's parsha, we find the beginning of actually the second parsha of this week is Parshas Kedoshim. And the Torah tells us, Be'er b'nei Yisrael, Hashem said to Moshe, speak to the entire assembly of the Jewish people, and say to them, Kedoshim tiyu, you shall be holy. For I, Hashem, your God, am holy. We're told to be holy. Every day in the Shema we say, we wear tzitzis so that you should remember and perform all of my commandments, and you shall be holy to your God. So this means we all have to be Kadosh. We all have to somehow remove ourselves from the mundane, remove ourselves from this world in some way. How do we do that? So the Ramban on Kedoshim Tiyu, on the words you shall be holy, explains that it means that we have things that the Torah forbids us from partaking of. We have things that the Torah tells us we're permitted to partake of. And when we're told Kedoshim Tiyu, be holy, it means separate yourself even from that which is permissible. It doesn't mean completely separate yourself. It doesn't mean to become ascetic. But it means, according to the Ramban, not to indulge in physical pleasure. You partake from physical gratification, what you need. But Kedoshim Matir tells us not to indulge. And that's not such an easy task. That's not so easy to do. I want to share with you a thought that I one time saw from Rabbi Yaakov Haber. He's a Rebbe Ramat Beit Shemesh in Eretz Yisrael. And he made a comment about Kedusha, about sanctity, that I understand what he meant to say is that there is a baseline level of being holy. A baseline level. And like anything else, like any other concept, any kind of level in serving Hashem, there are many different levels to it. You can rise to very high levels. You can rise to a level where you're a holy person, and we refer to you as holy, that person is like an angel walking amongst human beings, removed and elevated from the mundane in a very high way. But there's a baseline level for being Kaddish, for being holy. And that's the elementary definition of what it means to be holy. And we build up from there. But it's a level that we could all be at. And that is that when we are told to be holy, it means that we should live beyond the ordinary. Don't just live like an ordinary human being. Live like a special human being. We refer to a person as a special person. We typically don't mean that just that they have some kind of a talent that makes them stand out. But special means that they behave in a way that's elevated, that's beyond how ordinary people live or behave. So when we're told to be Kaddish, we're being told to live our lives in a way that is separated, above, elevated from the ordinary way that human beings live their lives. Human beings have good parts to them, positive parts, negative parts. And we're being told that don't be an ordinary human being. Live above that. Live beyond that. And that manifests itself in many different ways. Let me share with you a beautiful story that brings this out. In the 1950s, there was a philanthropist named Mr. Irving Bunim. He supported many, many Torah causes. And Mr. Bunim dealt in textiles. In the early 1950s, the sole company that made velveteen was A.D. Juilliard. During an inventory closeout, Bunim had ordered a large quantity of fabric from them. Yet the bill mistakenly noted a shipment of 338 yards for 38 yards. Another box marked 42 yards actually contained 442 yards. Bunim had been undercharged some $40,000. Figuring that an error like that would not go unnoticed, Bunim waited for someone to call and rectify it. In the meantime, he paid the bill that was rendered. Months passed and no call came to announce that a mistake had been made. Bunim decided to call the billing department. "Everything is fine, Mr. Bunim," the clerk said. "You're all paid up." Bunim immediately called the president of the company and made an appointment. When the two men met, they shook hands, and Bunim happily declared, "Today is a Jewish holiday." The owner, who did business with Jews, looked puzzled. "I never knew of a holiday today. Which one is it?" Bunim smiled. "Today is the day that a Jewish businessman shows the value and ethics of true Torah morals." Then he explained the entire story and handed the astonished man a check for $40,000. "I know of no one else in the business world who would have returned that money," said the startled manufacturer. This is an example of a person who didn't live an ordinary life. He wasn't an ordinary businessman. He was a Torah Jew who did business. And when we are told to be Kaddish, when we are told to be holy, we are told to live a special way of life. We don't just follow the ordinary. We are careful how we dress. We don't just dress like everybody else. We don't just speak like everybody else. We're meant to be super honest in business. We're meant to be extremely careful with other people's feelings. We act in a way that someone would say about the way we act, he or she is very special. We act in a way that people should say, Jews are special people. And in that way, we have fulfilled the baseline level of being Kaddish, of being holy, being removed from the mundane. Don't just live an ordinary life, live a special life, an elevated life. The person who we call a Kaddish, a holy human being, that person has raised himself to a very high level in that. But we can all live a life like that. We can all live a life that's above the ordinary, a special life, a life in which people can look at us and point and say, that's a special person. Jews are special people. You know, there are many different stories of how people were inspired either to become observant or even to convert. There are stories of people who saw Jews walking home from shul after Shabbos with their families. And they looked at it and they saw there's something special there. It's not ordinary. That inspired them to want to join that way of life. One time I heard a story about a woman, a Giyorish, she converted. What got her to convert? What got her to be interested in Judaism? So she was one time walking out of the library on a warm day, and she was dressed like everybody else, which meant not very tzniistic, not very modest. And as she came out of the library, there was a young, religious young man who was facing her. And when he saw how she was dressed, he looked away. And that caught her eye. She realized he looked away from her. And she was puzzled. Why did he do that? Why would a Jewish person do that? And she turned around, went back into the library, and started researching. And that was the beginning of her journey that eventually brought her to become a Giyarist, to become a convert to Judaism. Because we, as Jews who live a Torah life, as we say in Shema, when we remember to all the mitzvahs, we are holy. We are automatically elevated. And if we live that kind of life, an elevated life, a life above the ordinary, beyond the mundane ordinary, that means we're holy. And it's from there that we can build to greater levels. But the baseline level of being holy is don't live an ordinary life. Be special. Live a life that's elevated from the ordinary. Make sure that you live a life of Torah that automatically makes us special, elevates us. And within Torah, make sure that we follow Torah, understanding that these things make us special. That we can speak in a special way, we can dress in a special way, we can deal with others in a special way, all based on Torah. That's the mitzvah of Kedusha. That's the mitzvah of being holy. Don't just be a regular, ordinary Joe or Jane. Rather, be a Torah Jew, a special person. Have a good Shabbos.